Welcome to the Catalyst for Growth podcast, a place where we talk about everything under the sun regarding the journey of the professional salesperson. Welcome the hosts for the C4G Sales Professional Enrichment Podcast, Kevin Burwald and Trey Kailunas II. Take it away, boys.
Well, Trey, we're at the end of the Champion Series. We've done 3 of these, and we're coming in with a fast, hard conclusion here. It's been really enjoyable. So let's talk a little bit about what we're going to talk about on this C4G podcast today. The spirit of a champion, embracing excellence and resilience. You know, we often hear about the physical and mental aspects of success, and we've talked about those in earlier podcasts. But today I want to delve into a topic of equality, if not more important, the spirit, right? The spirit that represents our inner drive, the unwavering force that propels us towards greatness. And again, we're trying to help financial advisors, professional salespeople become greater in trying to make that step of a degree every single day, a degree of moving forward to what their dreams and goals are. So in the essence of a true champion, again, I want you to define what a champion is again, because we all think of it's the lady holding the trophy or the guy holding the medal. And that's not really what a champion and how we're defining it is today. But I want to join today and let's talk about unleashing the power and harnessing the power of the spirit, right? And let's have a little fun with it today and with our listening audience.
Yeah.
So let's talk first. What is a champion?
And I think especially just the way I was brought up, you know, in Michigan and everything, and just kind of how we go about and what we value in our life. It's the everyday working man, right? Someone that's going to get up, provide for their family. It can be man, woman, doesn't matter who, but someone that's going to go out and set out and do what they say they're going to do, right? I think that's a great thing to always mention because people want to talk all this big talk, but we really don't celebrate people that actually deliver on it, right?
Imagine how that can change as you're an advisor, and we see a lot of gaps the way advisors raise their kids. There's a lot of advisors that are really in tune and are doing the right thing, and they understand the work-life balance with their children, and there's others that don't. And those children are sort of, I can see them get left behind, and you've got to be involved. Imagine teaching just that skill, or not, that's not really a skill, but teaching that attribute, to your child on how much further they'll be ahead of the normal kid, right? Of the average kid who's, you know, not getting that. And I don't think we have a lot of that in society right now.
And this discussion today, you know, about spirit, I say spirit instead of just heart, you know, probably because of lacrosse examples and everything and the influence that the Native American community has had on me, teaching, you know, the different spirits that they learned growing up. But I think it's also important to just look at the basics, right? The spirit of someone is that little voice in you that says, keep going. When the world shouts to give up, to quit, to go home, and not accomplish what you set out to accomplish.
It's really powerful. That's really power, that spirit, that internal spirit. It's given to you by God, right? What is your other God you worship, right?
Yep.
It's given to you by God. And we don't listen to it often enough. And we don't teach our children to listen to it enough.
It's kind of funny when you look at, you know, social media now and you look at Dr. Phil even, right? You always hear
I love Dr. Phil.
Yeah, you always hear that story of, you know, the mom that lifted a car or defended her kids against a bear. You know, they had that gut feeling.
Not usually the same lady.
Yeah. But they, you know, they always talk about that inner spirit that told them, that little voice inside them. And that's really what it's about, because I think people sometimes shortchange that and they're like, let's look at the analytics. No, trust your gut in a lot of situations. Keep fighting and don't back down.
Yeah, cultivating your sense of purpose to give you your own individual North Star. Explain a little bit about that and how you've done that.
Yeah, so in a previous episode, we talked about purpose really being that destination. You know, in this one, we're just talking about it in North Star. That gives you, you know, before we had all this GPS and, you know, Gen Z, I'm the oldest of Gen Z as a 97, you know, birthday.
Well, let me just publicly say, horrible generations, by the way. Horrible.
That's what you think. I mean, yeah.
Oh, I've got a whole bunch of people in mind that think you're horrible too. It's not just a personal opinion.
And at least in my generation, let's take out the Boy Scouts because they know how to navigate from a North Star. But everybody else.
Oh, you mean just the Scouts now?
Yeah, just the Scouts.
Because now we don't have Boy Scouts. We just have Scouts.
That is true.
Thank you for bringing that up and taking this right down a rabbit hole today.
Hey, it's for views, right? But no, I think that when you look at your purpose, that really is your North Star in the sky. And we can look at all the examples that the North Star has always played throughout history, right? And the impact it's had on communities to finding their destination. But your purpose, that's what it is. So what journey are you on? We might never be able to fully achieve that North Star and get to there, right? And move and accomplish what we want to, but at least you have something guiding you. That is your railroad tracks on this journey.
Even if you set your North Star, or whatever it is, your purpose, right? And you don't achieve it, you've still accomplished more than most.
Especially when you look back and then if you keep your head down and you do the other things that we talk about and maybe forget a few, you're still going to look back and say, wow, what a trail I blazed.
What a journey, and what opportunities I gave people as I went forward. I think that's the most important thing. And you may not hit that goal. You know, we always say the example of being in the NBA. You may never be an NBA player, but if you're working towards that, you're going to have good physical fitness. You're going to set example for people of health and nutrition and all that good stuff. You're going to leave even a failure can leave a really positive trail for other generations. And I think the younger generations don't have a lot to look forward to that is authentic and true, because the society we live in now is sound bites, clickbait. You're inundated with all these individual thoughts that aren't really real.
I agree with that. And I think that, especially now too, with all the social media, it's more about information just consuming. When really we should be out on our own paths, right? With our North Star and having actually that North Star line up with challenges. Because I think that in our own lives, challenges are opportunities.
Yeah, let's talk about challenges as opportunities. That's interesting you say that, because they are.
They are. And I think that they're kind of misconceived. And maybe that's because people only look at it as a win and loss, and they don't think that you've got to have a debrief time, right?
Isn't it amazing that most people, when they see a challenge, they look at it as a half glass instead of a half full?
And I think that goes back to psychology, right? That a lot of people think negatively. So when you challenge yourself to be positive,
See, when I see I see opportunities all the time, and I've always tried to capitalize those. When I see a disalignment in a market or a new regulation or something, I try to get on top of it, so we simply have a competitive advantage, because people are the procrastinators I'll always win against, right?
Yeah.
And the people that want to fight it, it's all negative energy. If you flow with it and you go with it, you can get way ahead. And I've always looked at the challenges as an opportunity to get better at the worst case scenario, but to maybe propel others in the organization as a competitive advantage is the ultimate goal of a challenge. But at least I'll get better by taking on that challenge.
I agree with you. And what kind of always pops up into my head when I think of challenges is, an image of a wall, right? You can go over it, you can go under it, you can go through it, you can go on either side. In my limited career and life experience, I know how to get around the wall one way. So I've got to figure out the 6 other ones in this crazy life, because challenges are going to be constantly thrown. So especially at this point in my life, I look at the challenges almost as like an information gathering, you know, hurdle in my life. So I go out and seek a lot of information from people, at work, at DocuPhase. I ask 4 or 5 people, different things about leadership, different things about our software, just to understand, okay, this challenge, how do I get around it this time?
I have told you that about The Rock 1,000 times. You've heard me say it. It's amazing that you're repeating it. And I think there's value in that for individuals listening to this podcast to hopefully, raise champions for themselves, to become champions, that the things that you tell and you say to your children, they'll repeat it to you at the most awkward and unusual time. I didn't know you were going to say that. And it's amazing, because I've always said that about going over an obstacle. You can go through it. You can go left or right, up and down.
You can push it.
There's a whole bunch of different ways, but your goal is to get through that obstacle. And, it goes back to that old adage, there's a ton of ways to skin a cat, right?
Yep.
There's always a way. And it's amazing that you actually listened for once. So I'm actually surprised that had happened and that you shared it with everybody here today on the podcast.
But I think there's more additive to it too, because you can't take those challenges upon yourself if you don't believe in yourself. If you are just signing up just because you think, oh, over time after getting, beat constantly by these challenges, I will become better. No, you've got to believe in yourself.
Yeah, you have to have maintain an unwavering belief in yourself and where you're going, because it's going to be very easy to get distracted, number one, or number two, have obstacles come in that seem so insurmountable that you can't accomplish your goals. And that is the unwavering belief in yourself is very important for us all to do. If you know you're doing the right thing for the client, you push hard, not against the client, but you push hard to get things done on behalf of the client for their financial well-being, right? If you know that you have got that you have a desire to help people, you push hard in your marketing, right? An unwavering belief in who and what you are. And people are going to tell you no more than they're going to say yeah. So the formula going in. Don't get upset with it and keep grinding. And that's how that grinding is going to make you that champion that we talk about.
Yeah, but one thing I would like to add on to that too, that I think isn't said enough, is self-doubt is natural. So I don't care if you're 80 or if you're 15, and you're always going to have that self-doubt. That's just who we are and how we're programmed as humans.
Every day.
So I don't want people to think like, oh, well, I'm going to take on these challenges and not have self-doubt. No, it's okay to have that. And understand
self-doubt is part of our survival instincts of self-preservation, right? Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You need to make sure that there is some self-doubt, so you're not doing some things that are really stupid. But, you're right. In knowing that going into it, there's a famous law, and I can't recall it right now. It goes along with Murphy's Law, that if you can write down half of the problem, you know the solution. And there's a certain law, and I apologize to the audience that I can't recall that specific law of nature, but that's how this applies. If you know that self-doubt is going to come in, knowing that is halfway of solving it. And you're going to have it, so accept it, acknowledge it, and move through it.
Yeah, and I think it's part of that authenticity, right? Whether it's you're a new student at a college and you have that self-doubt, if I'm in the right place, understand that every other student there in person there is experiencing the same exact thing.
Yeah, let's talk about how do you develop mental toughness, because that's what we're talking about, right? We're talking about that you have to, you got to listen to that inner voice, but you can't let that inner voice, if the message isn't positive, overtake things. So you've got to be mentally tough, and in your inner voice and with your external voice, you've got to be mentally tough, because adversity is going to happen. Failure is going to happen. It's part of the growth process. I don't care if it's a client acquisition strategy, if it's a referral strategy, if it's using our great biography process at catalyst4growth.org, all of that, there's failure embedded in it, but that makes you great.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And I think one of the things when we talk about mental toughness, right, it's really to overcome and mentally overcome these obstacles, right? Because it's not necessarily a physical, but in your mind, you might have that self-doubt. You might have all these things that come up, and that's why you're doubting that you can get over this obstacle. That mental toughness really helps you evaluate the situation for what it truly is, because I think all the other factors kind of cloud that up. And so if you can get through those issues and develop that and then have mental toughness to get through it, then you're better on the other side.
Our ideas and concepts are tested in the trenches and will produce results. You can contact C4G at info@catalystforgrowth.org or call us at 813-454-0557 for a private consultation.
This podcast that we do every week is committed to continuous improvement. How does that work into the spirit of a champion?
Yeah, I think continuous improvement, you try to constantly be a better father every single day. I try to be, better son, but I think that you always have to constantly try to improve. Otherwise, it's that old Navy saying or military saying, complacency kills. You're going to fall behind everybody else in your peer group, and you're actually going to you're going to be part of that degree of separation that is left behind.
Yeah, there's another saying, comfort kills. And we get so comfortable, and that's one of the problems we have. We live in the greatest country in the world, and we have abundance everywhere if you just open your eyes, and there's so many opportunities. And that in itself, that comfort, because we have such great riches here, really leads to complacency.
Yep.
And so we have to be constantly, there's a thing, if you're not growing, you're dying. And that's so true. We see it with seniors in our practices that they retire. If they don't have a plan and they don't have a retirement mission, and we've got a book coming out about retirement mission, if they don't have a retirement mission, they perish. They have nothing to live for.
But I think it goes even past that. It's not even just those goals, but I think when you dive deeper into it, the people that fizzle off, they don't have an important self-reflection phase when they face challenges, when they have these wins. And I think it kind of flows into our next section, but we're both big on meditation.
Mhm.
We're both big on self-reflection and continuous improvement with oneself. And so I think that people need to include a section of, okay, what did I do well today? What did I do bad? Really think about your day or think about that challenge. Why did that call go so south? Most people and most salespeople are just willing to then, okay, you know what? I'm just going to go to the bar, grab a beer with my friend. No, go into your call system and break it down. Have that reflection period. And I think that also during that reflection period, it helps develop your mental toughness, because you're like, that mistake actually wasn't that bad. I beat myself up over it. I can fix it the next time.
We see that when we're doing case prep for advisors through Lionshare, right? That they'll have, let's say the client's got $4 million. They have a preconceived idea of what they're going to sell the client, and it's a kiss of death. It's a kiss of death, because they're not representing the client's needs; they're representing their needs. And we try to teach them. And when they come back and, I didn't get the case, and it's like, well, did you do what we say? Did you go through this, this, and this? Well, no, I showed them an annuity, or I showed them your management strategy. I'm like, no, you talk to them about what their dreams and goals are, and you work on absolute performance. And then when you explain it to them and they get, beat up a couple times in the marketplace, they get it. And so you don't do that without reflection. And, I'll share with everybody right now, I travel around. It's sort of funny. It's a small moleskin book. This year it's red. And I write down, it's with me all the time. It's in my backpack right here. I write down, if it's prayers, quotes, quips, poems, whatever it is, I write it in this book, and I start my day with gratitude, and I flip to it because they're all positive messages. And it might be one or two lines. It might be 2 or 3 pages of this little moleskin book. So I read it, I write it, and then I read it again. And I don't go through front covers. It's just a mishmash of just thoughts. I mean, if I see something great on Instagram, I'll tag it, send it to myself, and then write it down. And I think, it's really important to surround yourself with that positivity, because you can control your own environment. Even if you're in the middle of hell, you can control your own environment. I just got done traveling to Poland, and we got to go through a concentration camp, and it's horrible. But you could see and I know you've, as a national player for Latvia in lacrosse, I know you've been to several. We haven't been to the same concentration camp at the same time, but the spirit of human life that shine through the survivors and their positive attitude in the most horrific consequences is absolutely amazing. And coming back from there, instead of seeing all the death and despair and the evil, I saw the positive of, look at how these people, because I don't know if I always ask myself, would I be strong enough to do that? Am I tough enough to go through that? And again, I don't want anyone to go through that experience, but how would I have taken it? Would I have been a half glass or full glass? How would I have handled it? But to see the spirit of human nature that I walked away with from there was very uplifting and a very horrific time. And I know you've had experiences like that as well, representing Latvia on the national scene.
Yeah. And
international scene, excuse me.
And I think part of, you bring up practicing that gratitude, right? If you practice gratitude and practice mindfulness in a time of positivity, right, it can get you through those horrific times when you don't see that light at the end of the tunnel. So incorporating those practices and starting that early on, even during a good time, I think is actually a good thing because you build it up over time, right?
Well, we did in an earlier episode. I teased you if you still remember the mantras I used to make you say when you were a kid after your prayers, and you did. And they were little things that you learn, little quips you hear. But I always, I used to always make you say it. So you had that positive affirmation before you went to bed. And when you were going to face adversity, as a parent, you can see when your kid's going to face adversity. They're playing against the bigger kid. They're playing in a bigger. We always had you play up a league or two, and parents would be like, "He's small. He's going to get hurt." And I'm like, "He's fine. Don't worry about my
Yep.
kid. Don't make excuses why my kid's smoking yours. Right? He's going to be fine." So, but you can see adversity, right? You can see when they're going to a new school and you can pave the way with positive mental energy to help them get through those hurdles. And it's your obligation. And you do the same thing with your clients. The same thing with your clients. Your clients are nervous about retirement. They're nervous about what life's going to be like with the death of a spouse, and you need to help them over those hurdles. And you need to be the shepherd to guide them with positivity.
And I've seen you and other Regal advisors send out sympathy cards and everything when something negative happens in a client's life. But if you're an advisor that follows your clients more deeply, like on social media and stuff, also congratulate them when positive things happen in their life. Because you don't want them to just think, oh, it's my financial advisor. I only go to them when something bad happens, right? No, he congratulated me when my daughter got married, or whatever it may be. Make sure that you're also practicing that positivity and kindness with your clients, and not just something negative, right?
I'm going to do a shameless plug here because I guess we own the podcast, and you and I are creating a book about client events. And all there, we talk about the benefits of connecting on a different level. And to your point, it connects all in positive things, right? It's a social situation. That book will be coming out here late 2024, early 25. We're almost done writing it, and then it has to go to the editor and all the book design. But what we're seeing in there is that you need to connect in a more deeply route, and to do it, connecting during positive times is definitely the way to do it. What is the single most important lesson that you've learned harnessing the power of spirit on your success so far as a young man?
What's the most important? Wow, that's
Single most important. Just because I'm dad, you think I'm gonna give you easy questions?
No, I would say that you can do it. Whatever it may be, I know deep down, like, it's going to be challenging. It's going to be rough. There's going to be punches thrown in every challenge and everything I go through in life. But I know I can do it. And I know that through my spirit, because of the past scars it has and the past battle it's been through. And so anybody out there who's struggling right now, believe in yourself. And if you don't, start writing down a plan, because that's the first step.
Is that how you advise people, or someone that feels disconnected from their spirit or purpose?
Yes, completely. And I would also encourage anybody to go outside. That's going to be the Champions Challenge for this episode. To go just sit in nature again, not with AirPods, not with any technology open or looking at it, but go outside and experience the environment that, God or whoever you believe in gave us. But to connect with that, because we have this interesting relationship, I think, with nature that we don't even know about as humans, because we're probably not intelligent enough to understand it. But, you experience it when you're out in the woods hunting. I experience it when I go on a run or something, and I see the flowers, you see the animals, you see life in a different, view.
Well, when we were quail hunting in Bolivia, we were pointing out, flowers on the cactus and
Yeah.
stuff like that. It was unique. And I think you and I enjoy a good old fashioned country stream and playing in it. I'm 60 years old, but I tell you what, I love going outside. And if there's a stream, walking around and flipping rocks and like a little boy and trying to find out what's under it. And I mean, I know you love that too. And it just sort of cleanses your soul. It gives you a peace, an inner peace that allows you to focus on a purpose in what you want to do. And it's like you have moments of clarity, right?
Yeah, it's like almost wiping the sweat off your brow at the end of the day, where it's like, okay, I feel refreshed. Okay, this is my next step. This is what I've got to do. You can walk in from a nature walk and feel empowered.
I also have the same feeling after mass or like praying the rosary. I get that same sense of peace. And I think we need to have that sense of peace because it allows you to put things in perspective. That perspective keeps you out of trouble. It keeps you focused on what's important to you. And I think as advisors, we don't do that enough. We're running from transaction to transaction. We're running from dinner meeting to prospect to this to that. We're running around because it's tough being a sole proprietor. It's tough building an individual entrepreneurial practice and doing it on your own. And that's the community we're creating, is that you don't have to do it on your own. You can get better with us. Every single podcast, every single coaching session, and they're all available on our website, catalystforgrowth.org. So what else do you want to talk about, Trey, regarding the spirit of championship and embracing excellence and resilience? I know you've had a lot of victories. Most people look outside and they say, wow, you've accomplished a lot of things. But you've also had some dark moments, your surgeries, your injuries, and how you fought through them. You've had self-doubt.
Yeah, I think
and I think every kid has that in different degrees. I mean, you could be the 8th grader who flunked a math test, right? And how does a parent help that kid? Because it's human nature to have self-doubt. It's human nature to feel sorry for yourself or to not challenge and take that step forward. How do you go about changing that?
I think from, if you're a parent looking to try to change your current situation with your child, the number one thing you can do is improve the communication you have with your kids. I think that we don't put enough value on communication in America. And, I get on you about how you reply to employees, whether it's an abbreviation, THX for thanks. Because
see, that's another generational thing. Holy moly. You youngsters can't. I mean, I got to write a book to you.
Well,
it's just thanks.
Because that can be seen as passive aggressive and people can read it differently. So, I encourage anybody, if they want to connect better with their kid or they just want to connect with their partner or anybody else, go out and have a real conversation. And that's taking out the other factors, take out TV, find somewhere soft to sit, but also be open. I think about the legacy that I want to leave as a champion.
That's exactly what I was going to get. My next question is, what legacy do you want to leave? And why are you doing this? Well, there's 2 questions. Why are you doing this? Why are you pursuing this? Because it's a very odd thing for a young man to go. I mean, you got your master's in strategic leadership. Now you're a PhD candidate and you're pushing forward in sales development. Why are you doing that?
Yeah, I've got a passion, and I think it flows quite well with my Jesuit, teaching principles that I learned at Detroit Mercy and everything, but really being a servant to others. That's the legacy I want to leave behind. I don't want to be known as someone that came to earth and took more than he gave. And, giving more than what I, can in this life, that's what I want to leave. He was a helper. He helped me, do X, Y, Z, elevate myself. I think that's the most impactful thing you can do when you're on this planet is help out fellow human beings. It could be something small, but I'm there to help. And I think leadership is a great foundational teaching aspect and learning aspect that everybody, it doesn't matter who you are, what your background is, you can be a leader today. It's just about changing your mindset. Anybody can. It costs absolutely $0 to be a leader today.
It's interesting why you took that principle, the servant leadership from your Jesuit education and applied it to salespeople. And then I was thinking, like, why would you do that? And it's because you grew up in a sales organization. I mean, when you were 2 or 3 years old, I mean, you were walking, and we owned a building, and you were walking around on the weekends while we were there. And I mean, I can tell you the people that were pushing you down and making fun of you and messing with you as a kid to toughen you up were some of the same adults that you mentioned. Larry Taunton, Chris Wilkes, and Brian Yarch, Don Carlson, that have been in your life, and you've seen it, and you've seen all of the sales professionals at Regal. And so it's just sort of, I guess, a natural, I didn't think about it until this podcast, but it's just a natural transition and coupling of your passion of leadership with helping salespeople. Because sales professionals completely fragmented.
And they look at it more as a transactional, uh,
Well, look at the financial service industry.
yeah,
You got the RIAs, which are fiduciaries, and then you've got the insurance and broker dealer people who are completely transactional, and they're at odds at all the time, and they shouldn't be. The fiduciary responsibility should extend to RIAs and insurance people, and vice versa. The community itself should be representing the best interests of the clients at all times, and there should be strict rules and penalties if you don't. I'm a big believer in that.
advisors should serve their clients.
Exactly, because that's what the clients expect, and I don't want the government regulating it. I would much rather regulate it from a self-governing body. The brokers that are listening are talented to this podcast. They're the top of the profession because they want to get better, and we need to police our own environment. And I tell you what, sunlight's the greatest disinfectant, right? And by talking about leadership principles and talking about financial service and becoming better and better for your family, there's not a downside. It's all ups.
Exactly.
It's all ups.
If you would like to be a guest on the C4G podcast, please contact us at info@catalystforgrowth.org or 813-454-0557. Primetime players only. Bring your A game or don't contact us.
What legacy? You were going to talk a little bit about that, and I wanted you to take it in a different direction. So, what legacy do you want to leave behind?
Like I said,
And can you at 27 can you even imagine a legacy behind you, or is it too young?
No, I can at least see one, but not necessarily a full one, because it's interesting because I want to have kids eventually, down the road. But obviously that portion of my life hasn't come up. So I think for the legacy that I want to leave behind as a young guy is that he worked hard and he would help people. And I don't care what time it is. I answer friends' phone calls whenever, if I can be of any aid to some of these mentees, I'm always there. And I just want to be a helper. I don't want to be a taker, because I think that's, again, one of the biggest things we can do wrong here on earth if you just take.
So you've talked about in this whole champion series, the combination of purpose, resilience, and support from others create a holistic path. How should we go about doing that?
I think number one, you've got to start with journaling, right? You've got to find out where your weak points are, and you're going to find that with conversations with yourself. And once you find out those weak points, I might not have the resources, but I know someone out there is probably smarter. And guess what? It's also probably free on YouTube. So don't go out spending a bunch of money just to improve yourself, but really truly find out your weaknesses by having those conversations with yourself, and then seek out the resources that can help improve those weaknesses, right?
One of the things that we do at Catalyst for Growth is we always ask the advisor if they're going to enter an agreement with us to give us their 3 heartburn or headache issues. And that requires self-inspection, right? And if you give us those 3 problems, we can, again, going back to your point, our network of people, I may not have all the answers. I may have to bring in a Bill Best, who's a wizard with internal operations of a financial service business, or I might have to bring in a compliance expert or whatever. But I have those resources I can bring in and bring that talent in. But you need to first assess what your needs are. So we always say it's heartburn or headaches. What's keeping you up at night? What don't you like? Give us those 3 problems at catalystforgrowth.org, and we'll come up with a solution to help you with that and help you down that journey, because it is difficult.
And one question I would like to add to that, when people start asking themselves and doing that self-evaluation, what is the work I'm avoiding? Because usually the magic that you're looking for is in the work that you're avoiding.
You little son of a good for nothing! You stole my line.
So
That's a weasel move right there, son. I mean, the work that's my line. I use that all the time when I publicly speak.
But when you're looking at that, you got to see, what project am I kicking down the road? Am I kicking down repapering all my accounts and switching and upgrading my billing system as an advisor? Which ones am I pushing off? Because probably that's actually going to be the solution that I have to go for.
Yeah. So the quote is, you want to give it here since you stole it? Oh, now you're allowing me.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. The magic you're looking for is the work that you're avoiding, is in the work you're avoiding. And I really believe that, because there's a lot of things and tasks that we could do to make our organizations better, and sometimes they're difficult. And if you face those head on with the mind of a champion, you're going to be successful. You're going to be better than you were yesterday, which is the whole goal of this. So, one last question. This is the end of four series that we cut here in Tampa at MMG Studios. I want to ask you this question. This is I've always writing in the back of my little book here, podcast questions, and this is one that I've been saving for you. If you could go back in history and have dinner with a four-top, so there's you and three people, who would those three people be throughout history, dead or alive?
Jesus.
I knew that one was going to come.
Attila the Hun. Marcus Aurelius.
It's absolutely amazing. You're my son. My three was Jesus, Genghis Khan, and Marcus Aurelius.
I would, the only one you could switch for Marcus would be Epictetus. Another Stoic, right?
Yeah. You've obviously gotten the love for the Stoics from me. As I've gone down this journey, I read a lot of Stoic philosophy. I think we have that on the books we read and books we write section of the catalystforgrowth.org website. There's a whole section on that, and there's some Stoicism there. If you're not familiar with it, it's great. It's basically taking personal responsibility and discipline for your life, and it cuts through a lot of chatter and noise that we have in today's society. So I want to thank you. This has been really fun. We spent quite a lot of time on how to become a champion, and I love you, obviously, and I'm very impressed with how you're developing it at your age, and your desire to help other people tells me that your mom did something right. All the bad stuff, I did. All the good stuff your mom did, but you're well on your path to becoming something very special and helping other people, and I couldn't be more prouder of you.
Thank you. I'm thankful for you, Mom, Courtney, for all the stuff that you guys have been involved.
You just taped that you're thankful for your sister.
Yes, I am.
Holy moly.
Got to practice a little gratitude,
She's
right?
going to put that on a loop.
But no, very thankful I could be on here, and, excited to really develop this series as it comes out. Who knows, in 2 years, one of these episodes, we might just say, hey, scrap that, put it in the description. I've completely changed how I go about this, but I'm excited about this, and I'm looking forward really to interacting with different people that are going to use C4G and helping them out, even with the small things, because there's a lot of things people can do. I think, connecting with nature, really that self-meditation, that self-inventory, things like that, start that now, because we're putting these things up to do, and it doesn't require any cost. All it requires is effort, attitude, and adaptability.
How can people get in touch with you? They want to hire you to work with their kids, or they want to work with you, work with your organization. I mean, I think your perception is phenomenal for your age right now. I think when you go through this PhD program at Liberty in strategic leadership, it's going to just blossom. I mean, I think it's going to be phenomenal to watch you grow. How can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, go to the Catalyst for Growth website, catalystforgrowth.org. I've got a contact page there, or connect with me over LinkedIn. Just had a Marquette lacrosse player reach out over LinkedIn. He wants to get into business development and, the software industry. So we've got a call set up for Tuesday. Never met the guy, but decided to schedule a call and help in any way I can. So, that's probably the quickest way to set up a call.
I do remember some times where Marquette put literally a whooping on you boys.
I do remember they were 15th in the nation, and Titans team went into Milwaukee and beat them.
Were you on that team?
Yes, I was.
Holy moly. There's a victory. So again, thank you for your time and everything you shared with the audience. You can contact us through, www.catalyst4growth.org. Thank you for listening. Stay tuned next week for another great episode.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you for your time today. We will have another content-packed session posted next week. Please check our website, catalystforgrowth.org, for our legal disclosures on the bottom of our homepage, if you're into that sort of thing.